everyone, it's Gene Calderon here with Gene Calderon Apologetics Ministries, coming to you today with another teaching day on our theme day. Today being Monday, we are going to look at what we call Messiah Monday. And Messiah Mondays is when we take a look at the Gospels, specifically from a Jewish historical and cultural context, to really try and figure out what's going on in the time of Jesus with the time of his audience and his disciples, understanding what they knew just growing up in their culture. And one of the main things about their culture is that they are very familiar with the scriptures. And so many times when we read in the Gospels, we kind of forget that they are so knowledgeable about the scriptures because it was part of their everyday lives. It was part of their culture and their history, that they were familiar enough to be able to catch certain things that Jesus would say or any of the popular rabbis might say in reference to their new teachings. And the thing is that Jesus was able to use scripture to be able to point them to his own identity as being the one who would actually fulfill those scriptures. In fact, some of the most important claims to be Messiah that Jesus gave were subtle. And if we take a deeper look at some of the text that he quoted, we could actually find that he was being very clear about who he was. One of the most popular images of Jesus that we probably see in paintings or in murals or things like that is Jesus being the good shepherd. Now, why do we say that? Well, there's times where Jesus himself said, "I am the good shepherd. I know my sheep and my sheep know me. I lay my life down for my sheep." And this would have brought to mind the audience. They would have thought maybe of passages such as Psalm 23, where we read, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not be in want." But Jesus was giving more than just a comfortable image, because he was also giving them an image of power. The shepherd is often used to be able to describe kings as they were shepherding their people. If you remember Herod the Great, when Jesus was about to be born and he has Magi come to visit him, and after the Magi leave, he starts to talk to his counselors, and his counselors talk to him about some of the things about where the newborn king of Israel would be. And they quote a passage from Micah chapter 5, verse 2, where it says, "You, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means the least among the rulers of Judah. For out of you will come a ruler who will be the shepherd of my people Israel." Now, Jesus was hinting about his identity as the Messianic king, the future of God's kingdom. And Jesus would have grown up learning a trade with his earthly father, Joseph, who is known as a tekton. A tekton is basically a builder, someone who works with their hands. It's the word that we usually translate for tekton would be a carpenter. And when we see these pictures of Jesus, it's nothing like him being a tekton when we're talking about him being the shepherd. But see, no one seems to have a problem with seeing Jesus in these images, portraying him as something that he was not when it came to his earthly life or his profession. Now, why don't we have a problem with that? Well, because pictures, especially in the Eastern culture, like Jewish culture, they would still tell a huge part of how they would communicate to each other. Jesus used plenty of imagery in order to give his listeners a clear picture about who he truly was. Just listen to what Jesus says in Matthew chapter 25, verses 31 and 32. "When the Son of Man comes in his glory and all the angels with him, he will sit on his glorious throne. All the nations will be gathered before him, and he will separate the people one from another as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats." Now, this imagery carries with it a reference to many places in the Hebrew Scriptures or the Old Testament about who or what that shepherd is and what that person could do. In the book of Ezekiel, we read in chapter 34, verse 17, "As for you, my flock, this is what the sovereign Lord says. I will judge between one sheep and another, and between the ram and the goats." So what's so stunning about these words? Well, Jesus was comparing himself to God, who is often called the shepherd of Israel. And many of Jesus' listeners would have been shocked. Others would have been completely offended by what Jesus was saying, because we have to understand what Jesus is saying. He is claiming to be one with God, and we need to be able to hear it within the audience's context to be able to receive that message. We'll get a little bit more into that next time, but understand that Jesus was being subtle by using the scriptures to point directly to who he was. But for that audience, it wouldn't have been too subtle because they were familiar enough to catch it and understand exactly what Jesus was saying. So we'll follow up on that. I hope this blesses you, and I hope it encourages you to go back and read some of the Old Testament scriptures, especially when referring to the Messiah, because Jesus is constantly pulling from those scriptures to reference himself. And it's such a blessing to see how he fulfills many of those prophecies. So again, this is Gene Calderon with Gene Calderon Apologetics Ministries. I thank you for watching. And hey, if you'd like to support a local missionary, which I am, with Purdue University Northwest, with the ministry known as Ratio Christi, we serve there. We've been online because of all the shutdowns. We're doing as much as we can online with videos like this or live chats. And so if you'd like to support that effort, the links will be below. But I also do serve at my home church, which is known as Freedom Church, East Chicago, Indiana, or serving in the community of Northwest Indiana, Chicagoland. Just came back from Michigan not too long ago. But anywhere we can serve, that's our heart, that's our passion, to be able to equip you to know the reasons for why you believe what you believe and to be able to share that in a winsome way. So hope to see you soon. God bless you. Thanks for watching.